Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World as one. I'm Adya Juneja and this is Speed News. Let's start with all the top stories making headlines today. A midnight deadline is approaching for US President Donald Trump under the War Powers Resolution, which could determine whether continued military operations in Iran remain legally authorized. The 60-day limit for conducting hostilities without congressional approval is now expiring, raising the prospect of a constitutional clash between the White House and Congress over the legality of the ongoing conflict. Lawmakers are divided over whether the administration must wind down operations or seek formal authorization to continue military action, as tensions with Iran remain high and diplomacy stalls. US President Donald Trump has described the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz as incredible, claiming Iran is being cut off from vital oil income. The remarks come as the US-led blockade disrupts one of the world's most critical energy routes, sharply limiting Iran's ability to export crude and tightening global supply. While Trump has argued the pressure campaign is working, saying Tehran is no longer able to generate revenue from oil, a key pillar of its economy, even as the standoff drives volatility in global markets and pushes prices higher. Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei has declared that the United States has suffered a shameful defeat, defiantly rejecting warnings from US President Donald Trump that a naval blockade on Iran could continue for months. But in a message broadcasted on a state television, Khamenei dismissed the economic pressure campaign and signaled Tehran's resolve to push back against US actions in the region. He went on to predict a bright future for the Gulf without the United States, saying those who interfere in the region from afar have no place there except at the bottom of its waters. Iran's foreign ministry has said that it is not realistic to expect quick results from ongoing talks, signaling limited optimism for a near-term breakthrough. While the statement underscores deep divisions between Tehran and Washington, with officials cautioning that negotiations are likely to be prolonged and complex. The United States is considering reducing American troop deployments in Italy and Spain, linking the potential move to escalating tensions over the Iran conflict and what it describes as insufficient support from NATO allies. Speaking at the White House, Trump suggested that military presence in both countries is under review as part of a broader reassessment of US force posture in Europe following earlier signals of possible cuts in Germany. Well, the comments come amid growing friction with European allies over the handling of the Iran crisis. Mayors and residents in southern Lebanon have staged protests against recent Israeli demolitions, accusing authorities of damaging civilian property and escalating tensions along the border, despite an ongoing ceasefire. Demonstrators gathered in affected towns calling for an end to the destruction and urging international intervention to prevent further displacement and infrastructure loss. The protests come amid already heightened friction between Israel and Lebanon, with local officials warning that continued demolition activity risks further de-establishment and de-establishing the broader region. Prosecutors have released security camera footage showing a gunman charging towards agents during the White House Correspondents' Dinner, as investigators continue to piece together the sequence of events in the high-profile security incident. Officials also said there is currently no evidence that any agent was struck by friendly fire, countering early speculations about how the confrontation unfolded. The video captured at the venue shows the suspect moving aggressively towards security personnel before being subdued, raising fresh questions about how the breach occurred at one of Washington's most closely guarded events. Authorities say the investigation remains ongoing. King Charles and Queen Camilla attended a special block party event celebrating the United States' upcoming 250th anniversary, joining officials and guests in marking the milestone. Well, the gathering brought together community members and dignitaries in a festive atmosphere, highlighting historic ties between the UK and the US. Well, the event forms part of a wider series of commemorations planned in the lead-up to 2026, which will mark 250 years since American independence. A powerful explosion tore through a home in Queens, New York, early Thursday morning, injuring 8 New York City police officers who were responding to a report of an armed individual inside the residence. According to authorities, officers arrived at the scene shortly before 3 a.m. local time after receiving a call about a man allegedly armed with a knife. As captured on police body camera footage, officers approached the small home and began to open the front door when a massive explosion suddenly erupted. Officials confirmed that all individuals inside the home have been accounted for, with several transported to a nearby hospital for evaluation. The head of Palestinian football has sharply criticized an Israeli official during a heated exchange at a FIFA meeting, escalating tensions over ongoing disputes in the sport's global governing body. Well, the Palestinian Football Association accused Israeli representatives of political interference and violations affecting football infrastructure and players in the occupied territories. The confrontation highlights continuing friction within FIFA over the Israel-Palestine conflict, with calls for further debate on governance, sanctions, and the role of politics in international sports. Israeli military has boarded and seized vessels from an aid Flotilla bound for Gaza, intercepting the convoy hundreds of miles from the enclave as it attempted to challenge Israel's maritime blockade. But the flotilla, carrying humanitarian supplies and international campaigners, was heading towards Gaza to deliver aid when it was intercepted by Israeli naval forces using speedboats, drones and boarding team. Several activists were detained, disrupted during the operation. Russia has said that a Ukrainian drone attack killed 2 teenagers as cross-border strikes continue to intensify amid the ongoing war. According to the statement of local governor in Russia's Belgorod region, a Ukrainian drone attacked a motorcycle carrying 2 young boys aged 18 and 15, and both victims died on the spot from their injuries. The development adds to rising tensions on the front line. Since launching its offensive in Ukraine in 2022, Russia has carried out regular bombardments across the country, targeting key infrastructure. Well, Kiev says its retaliatory drone attacks are mainly aimed at Russian energy infrastructure, but Moscow has repeatedly accused Ukraine of strikes that it says has killed civilians. Thousands of protesters took to the streets across Argentina a day before May Day, vowing to escalate their opposition to the austerity measures of President Javier Milei. Demonstrators, including labor unions and civil groups, condemned the government's economic reforms, which they say have deepened hardship and weakened workers' rights. The rallies come amid rising social tensions as Milei continues to push sweeping cuts and deregulations, with unions warning of further nationwide action in the coming weeks. Mali has held a state funeral for a senior military figure in the ruling junta who was killed in recent militant attacks as the country continues to grapple with worsening insecurity. Officials and military personnel gathered for the ceremony, paying tribute to the commander whose authorities say died during coordinated assaults blamed on extremist groups operating in the region. Well, the killing marks another escalation in Mali's ongoing conflict with armed militants, amid continued efforts by the junta-led government to restore control over large parts of the country. Well, thousands of people have taken to the streets in the Philippines' Manila to mark May Day, participating in rallies and marches celebrating International Workers' Day. Demonstrators gathered in key parts of the city calling for better wages, improved working conditions and stronger labor protections. Authorities maintained a visible presence as events proceeded largely peacefully, with unions and activists leading the annual commemorations. Large crowds have gathered along the waterfront in San Francisco as residents and tourists flock to catch a glimpse of a conker, a stellar sea lion that has become a local attraction. The unusually large marine visitor has drawn attention as it lounges near popular coastal viewing areas, with wildlife enthusiasts and onlookers sharing sightings online. Experts say the appearance of settlers' sea lions in the region is not uncommon, but conkers has stood out due to its size and calm presence, turning it into an unexpected social media sensation. Afghan refugees have been left stranded at the Pakistan border as renewed fighting erupts in parts of Afghanistan, worsening an already fragile humanitarian situation. Large groups attempting to cross are facing delays and restrictions, with border authorities tightening movement amid escalating security concerns. Islamabad warns all Afghan nationals to leave the country except for those who has valid visas and has expelled more than 2 million out of the 3 million back to their home country since 2023. Many are second and third generation refugees who fled violence at home in the 1980s. The death toll has risen to 6 after a cruise boat capsized at Baji Dam in Madhya Pradesh's Jabalpur, with 15 people rescued so far. Search and rescue operations are continuing as authorities work to locate those still missing following the incident. Well, emergency teams have been deployed to the site and an investigation has been launched into the cause of the accident. Apple shares jumped nearly 4% after hours as strong demand for the iPhone 17 and the budget-friendly MacBook Neo boosted its outlook. The company forecasted 14 to 17% sales growth, beating expectations backed by solid China sales and services revenue. Despite chip supply constraints and rising memory costs, CEO Tim Cook says demand remains strong. $100 billion buyback and continued AI investment reassured investors even as supply chain pressures and competition intensify. South Korea's exports jumped sharply in the month of April, rising about 48% year-on-year, driven by booming semiconductor demand linked to artificial intelligence growth. Chip shipments surged over 170%, anchoring economic momentum and boosting trade surplus. Strong demand from the US and China also supported gains. However, rising oil prices tied to Iran tensions are increasing import costs and inflation risks, complicating the outlook for the Bank of Korea. While exports remain resilient, weak domestic consumption and falling consumer confidence highlight growing economic pressures at home. Tokyo's core inflation eased to 1.5% in April, falling below expectations and marking the slowest pace in over 2 years. The data strengthens the case for caution at the Bank of Japan as it weighs further and future rate hikes. The slowdown extends a 5-month cooling trend, highlighting softer price pressures and supporting policymakers' gradual approach to tightening. India has emerged as the largest user base for OpenAI's new ChatGPT Images 2.0 since its global launch last week. OpenAI said users in India are leading early adoption of the tool, using it to create avatars, stylized portraits, and fantasy-themed visuals with advanced image generation features. The company estimates around 5 million downloads in India during the launch week, compared to about 2 million in the United States. ChatGPT Images 2.0, OpenAI's latest image generation upgrade, is designed to handle more complex prompts and produce detailed visuals, including accurate text across multiple languages. Italy's antitrust authority has closed investigations into 3 AI companies after they agreed to commitments over concerns related to generative AI errors. The regulator, AGCM, had targeted China's DeepSeek, France's Mistral AI, and Turkey's Scale-Up over risks of AI hallucinations, where chatbots produce incorrect or misleading outputs. Under the deal, all 3 firms will clearly inform users about such risks through their apps and websites, including adding permanent disclaimers to their chatbot services. Security researchers have raised alerts over a critical vulnerability in widely used web server management software, cPanel and Web Host Manager, warning it could allow full server takeover. The flaw, tracked by CVE 2026-41940, allows trackers to bypass login systems and gain admin access to affected servers, potentially impacting tens of millions of websites worldwide. Cybersecurity agencies, including Canada's National Cybersecurity Body, say exploitation is highly probable and urge immediate patching to prevent mass-scale server compromise. Midfielder Kobbie Mainoo has signed a new contract at Manchester United that will keep him at Old Trafford until 2031, bringing an end to months of uncertainty over his future. The 21-year-old, who joined United's academy in 2014, has already made 98 appearances for the club, scoring 7 goals, including the FA Cup final win against Manchester City in 2024. Mainoo fell out of favour under former boss Ruben Amorim, but his United career has been rejuvenated over interim head coach Michael Carrick. The highly anticipated Kannada family drama Love Mocktail 3 has officially logged in its digital premiere date. Fans of the beloved franchise can catch the 3rd and final installment streaming exclusively on ZEE5 starting May 8th. Directed by and starring Darling Krishna, the emotionally charged film follows protagonist Aditya as he navigates single fatherhood and an intense custody battle over his adopted daughter Nidhi. David Allan Coe, a defining and controversial voice of the 1970s outlaw country movement, passed away this week at the age of 86. Coe was best known for his 1975 Baroom classic, You Never Even Called Me By My Name, as well as for penning massive hits for other artists, including Tanya Tucker's Would You Lay With Me in a Field of Stone and Johnny Paycheck's Take This Job and Shove It. Well, that is it in this edition. News and updates will continue on the other side. Keep watching WION World is One.